So for our final trick, we're going to look at problem 11 from the Module 4 homework assignment. Part A is familiar. Determine the least squares regression line. We can do that. Part B, listen to this. Compute the sum of the squared residuals for the least squares regression line. What does that even mean? Well, let's talk about what that means and how to compute it. And the key word to focus on here is residuals. What is a residual? Well, again, I'm going to use a textbook problem. So here I have some data. I'm going to click on Stat, Regression, Simple Linear. I'm going to select my first column for my x variable, my second column for my y variable, and I'm going to click Compute. Now, here again it gives us the line, but notice, let's take a look at the graph. Notice that this line, this most perfect fit line, this best fit line, I guess perfect's not a good word, this best fit line to the data, none of the points are actually on the line. See, there's a little difference here. This error between the point and the line, we call this little error the residual. Okay, so here the points beneath the line, here the points above the line, here the points above the line. Okay, so each one of these dots has associated with it a residual, which is how far the dot is from the line. So a residual is a fancy word for error. So what if we take each one of these differences, so we take each one of these differences for each point and we square them. If we square these errors or square these residuals, this is the most perfect line where if you add up all those squared errors, this line is closest to them. That error number, where you take all of these differences and square them and add them up, that number is as small as it can be with this line. Any other line, if you take the difference between the point and the line and square each one of those errors for each one of those points and add them up, that total error number is going to be bigger than this line. That's why we call this line, the best fit line, the least squares line. Because if you square all the errors and add them up, this line will give you the least error. Okay, so that's what the residual is. And the homework problem asks you to compute the sum of the squared residuals for the least squares regression line. Fortunately, you just need to know where to look. So again, if you compute the simple linear regression, we want to find the sum of the we want to find the sum of the squared residuals. So where do we look on this table, on this page information to find that? Well, again, the residual is the error. Okay, so here we want to look at the error, which is basically the residual, and we want to look at the sum of the squared residuals, or sum of the squared errors. So when you look at this table, analysis of variance table for regression model, you just want to make sure you find the column that says error, the row that says error, and the column that's labeled SS. And this number here is going to be the sum of the squared residuals.